Abraham Lincoln is regarded as one of America's greatest heroes due to both his incredible impact on the nation and his unique appeal. He has a remarkable story of the rise from humble beginnings to achieve the highest office in the land. But it is often pointed out that he had numerous failures in his career until he was suddenly elected as president in 1816. Lincoln was born in a log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky, to Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Hanks Lincoln. Due to a land dispute, the Lincolns were forced to move from Kentucky to Perry County, Indiana in 1917. Though both his parents were most likely illiterate, his older sister encouraged Abraham to read. It was while growing into manhood that he received his formal education, an estimated total of 18 months, a few days or weeks at a time. In March 1830, the family again migrated, this time to Macon County, Illinois. When his father moved the family again to Coles County, 22-year-old Abraham Lincoln struck out on his own, making a living in manual labor. A year later, he was elected company captain of Illinois militia in the Black Hawk War. Because of his Black Hawk War involvement, he did not spend sufficient time campaigning and was defeated in running for the Illinois state legislature. At the age 25, he started a store in New Salem, Illinois, with a partner. He was appointed postmaster of New Salem and deputy surveyor of Sangamon County. Unfortunately, his partner died, causing the business to fail. Lincoln later paid off the whole debt for the failed business. Then he was elected to the Illinois State House of Representatives. Abraham Lincoln partnered with William Herndon in the practice of law. Though the two had two different jurisprudence styles, they developed a close professional and personal relationship. Lincoln made a good living in his early years as a lawyer, but found that Springfield alone didn't offer enough work. So, to supplement his income, he followed the court as it made its rounds on the circuit to the various county seats in Illinois. Lincoln was by then 34 years old. He served a single term in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1847 to 1849. His foray into national politics seemed to be as unremarkable as it was brief. He was the lone Whig from the state of Illinois, showing party loyalty but finding few political allies. He used his term in office to speak out against the Mexican-American War and supported Zachary Taylor for president in 1848. His criticism of the war made him unpopular back home, and he decided not to run for a second term, but instead returned to Springfield to practice law. By the 1850s, the railroad industry was moving west and Illinois found itself becoming a major hub for various companies. Abraham Lincoln served as a lobbyist for the Illinois Central Railroad as its company attorney. Success in several court cases brought other business clients as well, banks, insurance companies, and manufacturing firms. Lincoln also did some criminal trials. In one case, a witness claimed that he could identify Lincoln's client who was accused of murder because of the intense light from a full moon. Lincoln referred to an almanac and proved that the night in question had been too dark for the witness to see anything clearly. His client was acquitted. In 1854, Congress passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which repealed the Missouri Compromise and allowed individual states and territories to decide for themselves whether to allow slavery. The law provoked violent opposition in Kansas and Illinois, and it gave rise to the Republican Party. This awakened Abraham Lincoln's political zeal once again, and his views on slavery moved more towards moral indignation. Lincoln joined the Republican Party 2 years later. Aged 49, he ran for the US Senate and won the popular vote. However, in those days, the state legislature selected the Senate representative. Usually, they will select the winner of the election, but the 1858 Illinois state legislature chose Lincoln's rival, Stephen Douglas, to remain in office. Thus, Lincoln ran for the Senate and was defeated. In the year 1816, when Abraham Lincoln was aged 51, political operatives in Illinois organized a campaign to support him for the presidency. On May 18, at the Republican National Convention in Chicago, Lincoln surpassed better-known candidates such as William Seward of New York and Salmon Chase of Ohio. Lincoln became President of the United States. In the early morning hours of April 12, 1861, the guns stationed to protect the harbor blazed toward the fort, signaling the start of America's costliest and most deadly war. Abraham Lincoln responded to the crisis wielding powers as no other president before him. He distributed $2 million from the Treasury for war material without an appropriation from Congress. He called for 17,000 volunteers into military service without a declaration of war, and he suspended the writ of habeas corpus, arresting and imprisoning suspected Confederate sympathizers without a warrant. On 9 April 1865, General Robert Lee, commander of the Army of Virginia, surrendered his forces to the Union General Ulysses Grant, and the war, for all intents and purposes, was over. Reconstruction began during the war as early as 1863 in areas firmly under Union military control. Abraham Lincoln favored the policy of quick reunification with a minimum of retribution, but he was confronted by a radical group of Republicans in the Senate that wanted complete allegiance from former Confederates. Before a political battle had a chance to firmly develop, Lincoln was assassinated on April 14, 1865, by well-known actor and Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Lincoln was taken from the theater to a Patterson house across the street and laid in a coma for 9 hours before dying the next morning. His body lay in the state at the Capitol before a funeral train took him back to his final resting place in Springfield, Illinois. Abraham Lincoln is rated as one of the best American presidents, but it is often noted that he had numerous failures in his career. In reality, he was a very successful politician and lawyer. Our usual quote of the day leaves us to think about ourselves, and hopefully Lincoln's life will make an impact on yours.